Hello and welcome to Worthy and United. I am the founder, Jessica Viera, and together with Monique Viera, we are Worthy and United. We are bringing you a women's and men's mental health awareness, healing, and empowerment movement. Through the power of storytelling, facilitation, and teaching, we open up unfiltered conversations on topics associated with traumatic events in a way that you have never experienced before.
We take you through and help you understand that it is our experiences that have formed our behaviours, patterns, conditioning, and perceptions in our adulthood. The outcome of understanding and healing these experiences we are holding on to has the ability to have a direct response to the relationships we have in our lives, our careers, our family union, our opportunities, and family lineage. When we reveal these experiences we have encountered in our lives that have created the trauma in our body and mind, we open a gateway to healing these moments in our life and reach a higher level of consciousness, which allows us to live a life of inner freedom, love, abundance, joy, happiness, and enlightenment within ourselves.
Our mission is to break generational curses, shift old paradigm beliefs, and bring awareness to real life, personal, and circumstantial traumatic experiences. My message to you is, you are born worthy, and nothing has ever changed. Now let's begin.
Welcome to the Worthy and United podcast. On today's episode, we have Emma Lesley Baker. Emma is a somatic therapist, speaker, mentor, author, EFT practitioner, and a facilitator of tangible transformation practice, Rapture. Emma is equally grounded and embodied in practices of love, pleasure, and fulfillment as she is in accountability and integrity. Emma has helped clients transform all areas of their lives, including building and growing seven-figure businesses, shifting careers, building non-profit and philanthropic organizations, finding their soulmate, overcoming depression and anxiety, and self-actualization experiences, leaving you with a deep sense of connection and being home in your body. She attributes this work to her ability to connect beyond the realm of the physical plane and deeper into the cosmic and soul energy. Emma's intention is to leave anyone in her presence the access to actualizing and embodying the version of themselves they dream of, birthing life through feminine wisdom and life force. We welcome Emma into this space to share her story.
Welcome to the podcast, the Worthy and United podcast, Emma. I'm so excited to have you here. I'm excited to have you face to face. Thank you so much. I know we've connected 2 times so far, and we've gotten to know each other really, really fast, and I'm so excited to just have you here and hear about yourself. You're an amazing woman. You've got an amazing story, and you do amazing things in the world and in your business, and you're all sorts. You're a mum, you're a businesswoman, you're a coach, you're a mentor, you're a facilitator, you're all things, and you're also a daughter and a sister.
Yes.
So I'm excited to have you here. So thanks for being here, first off. I would love to know, who are you, Emma, and what do you do in your life at the moment?
Yeah, I think you really nailed it, who I am. I'm all things. I'm passionate about really actually finding myself, and that continuously evolves, I find. So when that question is like, who are you? There's definitely the mother and the daughter and the sister and the lover and the friend. But it continuously evolves as to who I think I am in that, if that makes sense.
It absolutely does.
Yeah, I'm like, so that's pretty much who I am, really.
Okay.
But yeah, what I'm passionate about is supporting myself to really continuously allow myself to become a better person, a better woman, a better mother, a better lover. And also that's what I really do in the world, is support other people to heal in those ways, so that who we think we are can continuously have these spaces that we become authentic to the heart and the soul.
I love that. I love that. And obviously this journey for you has been a big one, leading you up to what you're doing today. What is Emma's story? What is the journey for you?
Yeah, I think ever since a little girl, it's so interesting because there wasn't this moment where I was like, I really want to, facilitate, or I really want to, but there's always been this fire in my belly that any environment that I've been in, even being a little girl, it was like I was always the space to desire for people to feel safe in. Like even as a little girl, no matter where I was, when I was with my family or I was anywhere, there's always been this heart longing to actually not facilitate, but be a space that makes the world better, which it sounds so cliche, but I find it so interesting to reflect back as like a little girl and be like, I'm still living as that version of me.
Wow.
But I've created tangibly from it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So there wasn't this moment that I really experienced myself. I don't know. It's like I came here with this desire to be loved and support others to access it, and knowing that that is everything that we as humans want. Like I got a tattoo on my wrist when I was 18. It says "Live for Love." As soon as I could get a tattoo, I was like, "Love." But my journey in love has been the catalyst to support me to become all the things. So I'm like, okay, what do I want to share?
That's okay.
In my journey, I grew up with a family so loving, so beautiful, adventure. Everything was always rife. But I had a brother and he's 3 years older than me. I have a brother and he's 3 years older than me. And I think when I started to really imprint my journey around safety and love and being who I was, I started to, it's like this deep knowing inside of myself that what I could witness in him was this fear of being loved and this fear of what life could be like if it was as it could be. And so I was such a little girl and I witnessed him in deep destruction, as it was like grade 8, he started destructing, grade 9, he started destructing at grade 10. But we always remained in this loving situation. And there were things definitely that were unloving that I experienced with him. But my catalyst of who I've become was definitely witnessing my brother destruct, and witnessing someone you love so deeply, and then what then happened with my family as they were always navigating him. And so that, it was always different, and leading to him about grade 8, he started to become an addict. So he would, I remember like he would go out and tried weed for the first time, and then he'd come home and we were always close, and he'd be like, oh, but Em, I'd never try ecstasy. And then again, it would be the next weekend, it was like he tried something else. And so my journey of who I've become has been witnessing someone just go through such a horrific, yet so much knowledge. Like my brother is so wise, so intellectual, and, whatever he wants he can have, which he's used on his path as like quite destructive for himself. So I really believe we're quite similar in so many ways, but he supported me to become the woman I've become because of what I've witnessed in him.
Yes.
And so, as I was with him, it wasn't that I knew I wanted to be a facilitator because I was with him. It was that I wanted to really be a space that continuously allowed people to know that they're worthy.
Yeah.
And so witnessing him in his journey and the heartache that he would go through and the self-doubt, and then every time that I would see him be knocked down from his own choices and his actions, it was like, it would really ping me because I loved him so much and love him so much. So then it was continuously my work to let him be in his path, but also how can I become a more loving human for him to see how worthy he is regardless of his actions.
I love that.
So that's been a massive part of me choosing to not only like do it a little bit, but actually go beyond in the path that I'm here to be, and that's to help people heal and choose the life that they're actually here to live beyond the stories that they've had prior to those experiences.
I love that. And I'd love to know, like, you and your brother sound like you were very, very close, and I can only imagine, being in such a loving home that you've grown up in. Most of the time you hear stories where it comes from a trauma-based home, right? And there's so much toxicity in the home, there's so much destruction in the home. You were actually completely different, which I find so beautiful, And I think your walk is very different. And it's amazing. But how did that make you feel? Loving your brother so much and having this beautiful, close relationship. What did that do for you?
It was interesting because, like, it was super toxic, you know, witnessing him in those experiences and then him being on drugs and also then sobering up and like it was unsafe, you know, because he's a strong man. And what I witnessed through those times were hard, just like anyone maybe witnesses somebody as an addict coming down and then being high. And so my experience was always super unsafe and of what I would feel, you know. He would never hurt me, but I mean what I experienced in his energy and him being there. But it was so interesting because I've always then navigated this part of me that's known how powerful it can be regardless of what I'm seeing. Like, how can I be the shift and the change in him? And so my journey has been really difficult also to honor the safety of what I experienced and honor what my experience was, because I've always just desired for him to see how much better it can be and how much love he actually has and how safe love is. So my journey has definitely been weighing up, which I feel like a lot of people do, you know, invalidate what you feel because we desire to support others. But yeah, I would say definitely chaotic, unsafe, emotionally, physically, in what I felt just because of what I'd experienced through his choices, which I know he holds a lot of shame in. And so my journey has been like, even then, it's been the greatest path of unconditional love of my life. Knowing that it wasn't conscious and deliberate, and it was someone that's really struggled with a sickness that there's not a lot out there for those people to understand.
Absolutely. And I love that you've been the light for him by the sounds of it all through these years, you know, and it's beautiful that you've been able to maintain this relationship and still seeing the purity in his heart no matter what. How do you think that this destruction and just how you felt affected you, I guess, you know, growing up, going into your adulthood? Did it affect any of your own relationships that you had with friends, family, partners?
Definitely. I think the biggest part was what I've journeyed is my nervous system based around being safe. People share about being empathic, and I really believe that the empathic is actually a feeling of not being safe in an environment. And then what I would do is I would always but it was such a gift for me because it's what I do for work now or every day of my life. But I would attune myself to actually things that were off in a space, that were unsafe, that were an energy that wasn't actually really being seen, that someone's feeling, like whether someone actually was angry deep down but pretending they're fine. So how it really impacted was like being in environments, I would know exactly what's happening in every single person, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Because of that level of how unsafe I felt, it's what I would look for.
Interesting,
So I would think that I was empathic and I could feel everything, but actually there was my trauma trying to choose to feel it because I didn't feel safe. So I was making everyone's energy and spirit and experience my own. So it's been beautiful to be able to harness that and let go of what I'm not meant to feel, but it impacted everything in that way because my relationship with men, same thing. It was like, unless I got to that root of what I really knew what was happening inside of them, and I knew it, but it was like I would create relationships based on my level of control of really wanting to know who they are under in the feelings and the emotions. So then I became like the garbage bin of it because I'd want it and I'd desire it and I'd call it out of like men, their deep feelings in the feminine or women, and I'd want it so that I knew it was in there. So then it became harsh, you know, really harsh, because when you become someone that feels unsafe and then through all environments there's a part of us that that desired to know what that was. It was that then I was then calling it into myself.
Wow.
So there's a lot, and I get it. Like I'm here to I feel like I can harness it now, and I have so much love, and I don't take what I don't need to take. I don't tune in where I don't need to tune in anymore.
Yep.
But that's how it impacted in every way.
Wow. And what did it look like for you when you realized that was what you were facing? What was there a moment where you realized what was happening?
I feel like I always knew that I could feel everything, and it was because I was in fear, because I could feel the fear. But I also felt like for me, I had, especially when I started to become more aware of myself, it actually got worse, because the more connected to myself I was, the more I'd be in spaces and I'd be like, oh, like so attuned to everything that the more I became aware of myself, the worse it got.
Wow.
Because I hadn't done somatic, I hadn't done the emotional therapy. So I had more understanding of who I was, but my emotions, because I was so ready and I was desiring to connect to me, were still running the show. And I remember, I feel like a big catalyst was actually something came up on Facebook or maybe a podcast, and there was this share of exactly that, the empathics, you know, there's so often that actually it's trauma-based and we're seeking the most unsafe thing. And I was like, yes.
Wow.
And so there was definitely a moment that I feel like really confirmed what I could feel.
Yes.
And it's so interesting because I've always held the polarity of going, thank God I can feel everything in my experience, because I'd already started from 18, I had my own business. And it was very psychological based back then. But I always knew that it was here to be harnessed. Whatever I was experiencing, I knew it was a gift, and I was in the actual trauma of it. So it was like, it was really interesting in that way, having the awareness the whole time. Yet it was a lot on my nervous system, on my body.
Yes.
Yeah, just desiring. And I got really good at feeling nothing until I'd be out of a space. So I'd be in a space, I'd open as to what I thought I was, and then I'd go home, and if there was emotion, I'd cry there. You know, I'd really been like so good at being able to put up walls in experiences, which was not that good. You know, it's like feeling like I need to protect myself from life constantly, and then when I'm alone, I'll feel it.
Oh, wow.
Okay, Worthy and United fam, we have reached a quick intermission. Monique and I are coming back with an absolute bang. We are so excited to announce the return of the Find Your Inner Power events. Oh! We have not held an event since we collaborated with Lululemon in Sydney for Women's International Day back in March 2020. Can you believe it has been this long since our last event? We are itching to get back into the event space. Since then, we have rebranded, renamed the company to align with both men and women, and calibrated more deeply with our mission and purpose. We proudly present you the Born Worthy event, which will be held November 27th on the Gold Coast at Braeside Estate. This event is heavily focused on healing the inner child and stepping into womanhood. The message is this: we are all born into this world worthy, whole as one, in our purest and innocent form. It is our experiences, emotions, and trauma that change our beliefs and perceptions about what our true potential identity is. This event will be hosted by Monique Viera alongside 4 incredible, powerful speakers, including myself, Jessica Viera, where we will reveal unfiltered, real-life stories alongside professional teachings from mentors, educators, professionals, and facilitators. Born Worthy will be a mega charity event where we will be raising money for Diamond Women Australia, a non-for-profit organisation. First release tickets will be available mid-October. There will be 80 tickets available to attend live, and virtual tickets will also be available for those of you that are located interstate or internationally. If you feel aligned to be a part of this event, please head to the show notes where you will find www.worthyandunited.com to secure your place with us. We are so excited. It's going to be a profound and extraordinary day together. Now let's get back into the episode.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah.
And what does the healing journey looks like for you? And obviously your brother plays a very big part in this, like your whole family does as well. Like, what is this for you? Two things, like for you, what does that healing journey looks like? And then how has your brother come into this healing journey with yourself as well?
I feel like I've done, it's probably been the last 5 years is where I've been like, wow, the inner work really works. Because when I was first started getting into healing work and for myself, I knew that there was a big part within him, but it was more just, I was in the awareness of like, I just want to get to know myself. So all the little things, like the decisions I made, family life, experiences with my brother, they would all come into it. But my ultimate knowing within myself has always been like looking at my brother and knowing that he is such a representation of unconditional love. And so, the more that wait, what was your question?
How did the healing journey start for yourself? And then did your brother essentially come into that healing journey with you?
No. It's been all the inner work for me, and the more that I've done that, the more action, and deliberately to actually love him where he's at, and also create energetic boundaries of respecting myself and my energy and where I'm at within the actions that I would take. It's crazy because it's not crazy, but it's like this stuff really works, when we heal. Because when I'm with him, it's such a deep devotion to actually desiring for him to experience unconditional love through me. And the way I've seen him shift and the way that he treats me completely has shifted the whole time with me out without me needing to say anything except for hold that love and see him with it. I actually have never seen him treat anyone the way he treats me. And he knows that what not to bring to me. He, ever since I really started doing the healing work, especially around him, he's just shown up with respect for me, loving me. There's been maybe a couple of instances in like 6 years that maybe I would have been like, no. But it's really evident that the more that we actually heal within us, the more we actually change our environment.
I love that.
Because I've never had to really do much. It's like he's shifted as I've shifted, which is wild.
Yeah, it is. It's wild, but it does make sense, right? And I think that this is a really good opportunity to really open up with the audience today about how you've implemented those boundaries. You said that you implemented boundaries. He knows what you do and don't stand for, and you have, unconditional love for him no matter what choices he's made, and the life that he chooses to live, and I think that that's hard for a lot of people to do, right? I'm sure there's lots of families out there right now that have someone in their family that is also, a drug user, and it's like, how do you love them with the actions that they're doing? How do you really love them, and how do you create those boundaries? Like, how did you learn how to do that? It's not an easy thing for people to do. I feel like a lot of people would rather just close off to someone and remove that person from their life, but suffer and be upset and hurt that person's not in their life anymore.
I think for me it was realizing that when I was not creating the boundaries was my fear that he would experience me not loving him. So it's like if I said no to seeing him, even though he was using, then he would actually experience me not loving him. So I need to be in his environment. I need to meet him in what he's in, because otherwise. But the more that I actually realized in myself what unconditional love was, I was like, I can love you and show you I love you and still say no. Like allowing myself to be like, actually, like this isn't to do with love. Like I've had a couple of experiences, because he really hasn't tried much with me in a beautiful way. But there was this time, even a couple of years ago, he showed up at my house and I was with my ex at the time, and he was drunk and he was with a friend, and he was definitely had a great night that night. And he came to the door and he was like, we're here, we're going to have a drink with you. And I was just like, no, you're not. And then he was like, okay. And he's like, let's go. And just witnessing him be so okay with a no as the personality that I've witnessed, and be drunk and be whatever, was like, whoa. And me going, I love you, And I could feel in my energy that it wasn't coming from like, you're like this, so I won't love you because you're potentially high and drunk. I'm like, I love you, but these are the decisions you're making.
Wow, that's huge.
Yet I love you, yet no. So it's like when I wouldn't do that, it's like even now in my relationships and my facilitation and my ability to be able to go, whatever's there, I can love you in it. Because love isn't based around somebody's actions, but it's also based around how do we represent the love for ourselves, yet actually not judge others and not hold shame based around what they're experiencing. Because my truth is that my brother's journey isn't wrong. He's been a catalyst, and I actually believe he's been a guardian.
Wow.
To me. There was this book actually that I want to share. I don't know, it was not Conversations with God. There's some book that I read, and he spoke about how he had a conversation with God.
Yes.
And how in this conversation, the storyline, I can't remember the actual precise moment, but it was like, oh, but my dad is a drug addict. And, it was when he was going to come down here. And it was talking about, okay, your dad's going to be a drug addict and leave for jail when he's 12, and your mum's going to be this. And he was like, but if my dad's going to be drunk and go to jail and only 12, like, why do I have to experience that? And it was like, well, he's actually, like, how beautiful that he's chosen that path for you to become who you need to be so that you can experience what you're here to do.
Wow.
And that was like, I was young and I was like, yes. Like, my brother has been all that he's been because I make a lot of impact, but it's based on what he's shown me.
Absolutely.
So I'm like, I'm living a legacy that I know that he also chose.
Yes.
It's deep, but it's like that has been.
I just got goosebumps.
Me too. Like, the minute I read it, I was like, wow.
Yeah.
We all choose something down here, and I truly believe those that make the hardest decisions are those that are most judged.
Yes. I really loved what you said earlier about, because you said no to him coming to have a drink with you, that both of you knew that it wasn't that you didn't love him.
Yeah.
You know, and that you were saying no and rejecting him and treating him like a different human being. You didn't judge him or criticize him. And he knew it was just no, just because it's just no.
And love wasn't taken away.
And love wasn't taken away. And I think that that's really beautiful, because not only did you know that in your heart, but he knew that in his heart too. And then, you know, it's those moments I feel that actually really enable that healing for himself, because he doesn't feel judged. He doesn't feel, you know, criticized. Like, he still feels that love. And I think love is the greatest thing that can heal everyone.
Yeah. And, you know, it has been grueling, you know, the amount of work it's taken to be clean in this and be absolutely. Like, yes. It wasn't just like, I just lived this way and it's always been this. But it's always known that I've always known that where I sit now is where I wanted to get. It was like, I desire to be a space where someone can be in their path and for me not to wrong them. I know that. But also, like we said, is like holding energetic boundaries of what actually is safe in my environment. The same thing with my daughter. If she was around anything, it would be like, I love you. No.
Yes.
Clean. Yes. But also, the biggest part is like when judgment exists, love doesn't. And there's nothing wrong with judgment. We're here, we're human. It's such a normal thing for us to judge everything. But when it's actually a baseline of wronging someone for their path, then especially someone you really love, it's not allowing them to actually experience you. In love.
That's huge. That's huge. And can I ask you, for our listeners today, for, you know, families that might be struggling to love their son, their brother, you know, someone in their family or a friend during such hard times, what advice could you give to our listeners, just heart to heart, that might be able to just help them get through a relationship that they might be in?
It would be that loving someone not only sets them free, it sets you free. So it's like, if we actually want to live free in this life and experience what we came here to do, the only way we can be set free is by healing what we experience in another.
Yes.
And there is so much magic that we can then receive, that we are worthy of, that they are worthy of, that cannot access them unless they feel safe in love and unless they say yes to the healing, and also know that their love isn't separate to boundary. And for me, boundaries are just truth. And even for the word boundary, I don't even use it. It's just, what's my truth in this moment?
Yes.
Does that, and can I stand for that? And do the work in me so that you can feel the spaciousness in me, not to judge you and wrong you for your path, and know that actually there really isn't a wrong path. We all came here to experience things. And I know I've made many decisions in my past that I could hold shame to and judgment to, that were, you know, the way that I then was not safe. So then the way I would combust into men and just be chaotic, because I would just be so powerful and so protective of myself. You know, there's so many things that I myself have done. So it's like, can we really see that actually everyone's doing the best they can, and that everyone is actually experiencing what they're meant to experience? And the more we try and save another, the more we're taking ourselves away from who we're meant to be.
Yes. Powerful.
So just let everyone, it be an invitation for someone to make a different choice. And if they don't make it, then let them experience what they're meant to in it.
Yes.
And know that that is love.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, that was so just beautifully shared. Absolutely incredible. And I love that you stand for love. And I love that, you know, I just, you know, coming from someone who witnessed, you know, my father use drugs his whole life, you know, I have to honor you to be able to do that at such like a young age, because it is the hardest thing to do, learn and navigate. How do you love someone where you feel so hurt by that person? And I just want to honor you for doing that work, because if you didn't do this beautiful work and if you didn't stand for love, then other people wouldn't be, you know, experiencing your wisdom. So I just want to say thank you so much for loving your brother, or for all that he is. I think it's amazing, and I hope that your family through you will also be able to experience that deep love as well. So thank you for sharing your story. I appreciate
Thanks for having me here.
You're welcome. Thank you for being here, and thank you.
And that concludes today's episode. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for leaning in. I hope that the transmission of this message lands well on your heart. I hope that it pours through your spirit, and I hope that it is everything that you needed today in this moment. Remember, you were born worthy and nothing has ever changed. We love you, and we'll see you in the next episode.